valuable. So blockchain essentially, like you said, is the platform to do cryptocurrency trading. Is that
it's a platform to not do just the trading, to actually use to store your data, immutable. So whatever whatever benefits and the features blockchain has, you can utilize those features if you are becoming a part of that platform. So meaning if you want to send your money across to India, for example, okay, you can use blockchain technology to send the money with decentralized, distributed, immutability. So all the features which comes with blockchain, you can get all those features in your transaction use case. Like this is like just one example.
Okay.
And if you are using, for example, an AI or machine learning, you can use blockchain to store your data immutably. So that can help you in trying to restore the trust of your data. Okay, so it depends on what your use case is, but you can use blockchain in different ways. Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, sure. So even with blockchain, you mentioned some of the hacks that were performed on the technology. Can you go into some details on the hacks? Like, what's the name of the hacks? You got the man in the middle attack, or
that's a very good question. So he's basically asking that what type of attacks that are like frequent. So I'll explain this by giving you an example of a house. So if you think about a house project, it has, like in some goes better than this, but it's like you have like rooms, you have roof, you have outdoor, you have different sort of ways of entering into the house. Okay, so the attacks can be to your main door. Like somebody can come into your main door if you don't have your lock. They can come like and they can go inside your rooms. And then they can open your closet, take something out. So think about when you think about any cyber attack, think about the architecture, that what are the different layers of that architecture. It starts with like a front end. So for any blockchain application, you are having a front end in which you are using to log in your platform. And then the second layer is the DB layer, or the smart contract layer, which comes in. This is where the logic comes that, hey, you have to have immutability. You need to have your peer-to-peer communication. And the underlying is the hosting layer, which is either on the on-prem data center or on cloud data center. So it's basically what type of attack. It can be a coding attack, for example, a re-entrancy attack, okay, or it can be a man-in-the-middle attack. So it depends on which layer are you talking about, which part of the house we're talking about, and what are the vulnerabilities that is being exploited. So if you don't have, for example, encryption implemented between two parts, you can have man-in-the-middle attack to take down that information. Okay, if you are not having your audits done on your smart contracts, then somebody can attempt an access control attack where they can come in with your username and password and try to hack into your smart contract. So it depends on like which part of the solution we're talking about and what vulnerabilities are being exploited. Hope that sounds good.
I have a question. You mentioned in your presentation that blockchain is an infrastructure for the cryptocurrencies or whatever is being traded or transactions are being performed there. So my question is, who is handling or monitoring, or you can say expanding or scaling up and down that infrastructure, or regulating that infrastructure?
Very good question. So to explain this point, I mentioned about earlier that blockchain is decentralized, meaning there is no central authority is controlling. So now the question becomes how it's getting scaled now. Who is who is fixing any bugs? Who is building the security? It's actually the development community. So for example, blockchain, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is there for now years. Okay, has come through like a white paper. It has a Bitcoin community, which are the miners of the platform, the consensus teams who are verifying the transactions, the underlying code, protocols, what is being written on it. Like this is how it's been running. Like for example, Ethereum has their own community. They have their own sort of people who take the decision that, hey, I need to like stick to this version of the Ethereum, or I need to do an Ethereum point 2, for example. Okay, so it runs with the development community of that protocol, and this is how they run. And if you want to become a part of that community, you have to come in and put your stake. So there are different like methods how you can be a part of that community. But the community in general, there is no central authority which is controlling.
Okay, and how that community is being monitored by the regulators or the countries, or how this is happening?
That's another very
very complex.
Yeah, if I want to use an Ethereum solution here in the US, how I can let's put it like this. If it's not having a regulatory thing, so now it's kind of tricky that the SEC or the regulatory bodies here checks on the use case, that if it's a digital asset that you're talking about, or a stock, or so what is your use case for that? For example, if it's a stock, it has the stock regulations comes into that. For example, if you want to do a trading plan, that trading value has to have this amount of value. You have to go to KYC email check. So whatever the underlying asset or the use case is, that regulatory part of the use case comes in and they tell you that what you need to do. But in general, it's like the protocol itself is not regulated. This is right.
So it is like a kind of virtual thing or some physical thing, the blockchain.
It's a virtual asset. It's not. So think about a gold. I gave a comparison between gold and Bitcoin. So gold is like something which you can touch,
Yeah.
It has a store of value to it, you can trade it, so if you think blockchain like cryptocurrencies as compared to gold, you cannot touch Bitcoin. It's like virtual, but still it has a store of value, it's like a medium of exchange it has. So it has some like the property similar to gold, but it's like the virtual or the digital assets. Yeah.
I had a question. Bill Davis from Ancestry Landers. Thanks for having me. With FedNow, the government moving to a digital currency, and it seemingly looks like they're going to take away those paper dollars, how does that affect the individual citizens' freedom when you have government controlling either through blockchain and deciding who or who cannot have access to that digital currency? What protections does the individual citizen have with that type of technology if our dollars were replaced with FedNow currency?
That's also a very good question. Thank you for bringing this up. This is something which I see like in 2-3 years down the time we'll be having those sort of things coming in. So as how I see this, when the government comes to a point that we have to move from the paper dollar to the digital dollar using blockchain, so they usually run some campaigns, some educational campaigns in order to educate the people that how you can, for example, use digital dollar. How you can download the application, how you can exchange your paper dollar with the digital dollar. So they usually comes up with that. And the good example of this is a sand dollar project in Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
What they have done, they have to replace their own currency with Bitcoin and with the digital dollar basically. Okay, and they have issued their own wallet so that when somebody wants to buy digital dollar or sand dollar, they have to go to the government website. They have this application where you can download the application. You can read through the guidelines on how you can protect your wallets and what. So they have gone through a different sort of a project rollout where they have educate first the users. Then they have enforce certain regulations. Like for example, if my wallet is being made by a third party, okay, which is for example XYZ company, who is part of that ecosystem. Now that XYZ company has to go through certain regulatory and security checks in order to be a part of that ecosystem. And that is how they are coming and all starts with education. So think about when we used to have a barter system. Okay, and when we like migrated or transformed ourselves to that, paper money, we got the education. Okay. Now, if somebody now wants to use, for example, like send their money like online banking, use online banking, they have to also first learn all these things. Okay. Like similarly, when you go to the blockchain space, you have to go through all this learning again. Okay. But this is how the government like roles and responsibility will comes in, and that how like interactive they are and how like what they do to educate their users.
Does this pose somewhat of a security concern with, we have other countries in the Asian Pacific that are doing a lot of cyber attacks, and you have other countries being taken over, like the war with Russia and Ukraine? How would, let's just create a situation where Ukraine is adopted a fully digitalized form of currency and they are overtaken by Russia. How then are the citizens able to utilize that same technology when the government has now been replaced?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So what happens?
I've got a few more.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of Saudi Arabia. So I was there in Saudi Arabia for 7 years, and I worked on this with their government agencies as well. So they rolled out a project of like digital real. Okay, what they like this project, what they call as like ABBA. Okay, so they were doing a POC with the UAE government. Okay, so what they did is the actual like the real the real currency is running through a different platform, and this digital real is running from a different platform. So they usually do it in an active standby or two ways, in which the actual thing will go up and the secondary thing will go down. So they both run in parallel. So if one thing goes down, they always can go to the backup option. That's one of the options. Okay, the second option is, so whenever of this big data comes up, like we have government agencies here, like we have like CISA here, or Homeland Security, or like similarly other governments has their own security agencies. And the main responsibility for them, it's actually still like you have to do your due diligence, and there's no like a attack proof thing. But still, like what they do is they go through all these different scenarios where if there's attack by Russia to the Ukraine government, or vice versa, whatever happens, so they come up with their own sort of like a response mechanism in which how to prevent those situations, and then we prepare for a backup plan that if this goes down, that what is the next thing what will happen for my users. That's how they do it.
So in this case, how does another government? So are you saying that Putin can never take over the currency in Ukraine by saying that that currency or digital currency is no longer in use, and you will accept the ruble digital currency now, making whatever, let's just say in this hypothetical situation, the Ukrainian currency, digital currency will now be obsolete because it will no longer be in use? Does that pose a potential concern?
So if I understand your question correctly, what you're saying is if Russia attacks Ukraine for some reason,
which they're doing now,
they say that your local currency should no longer be used.
If they were to take over completely that area,
they have to use it on your secondary currency. But so here, so this is a very important thing to note that if that situation occurs, but with the decentralized nature of this protocol,
right,
you can still be okay with it. Like the reason is it's a distributed, decentralized nature. So the people who are operating this thing, they are not only present in Ukraine.
Right.
You can still operate using a digital currency if your primary currency is being taken over.
Got it.
So that's something which is
good point. Now that doesn't limit you to Ukrainian currency in the same example being accepted in other countries that still allow them to do business and offload that currency, right?
Exactly.
Does that also allow for a potential of currency manipulation in a situation like that, where that decentralized currency could be taken for a lesser price?
Yeah, very good point. So with this technology, it's been built from the fundamentals where you have to have consensus algorithm. Right? It needs to be when you do some transaction on blockchain, it has to be approved by the consensus members, by the validators. So in that, like when you set up that protocol, you have to define some criteria that in what cases you have to approve that transaction. Okay. So if in that criteria, if it says that, hey, if there's a manipulation coming in, you should not accept that thing. So it has to be approved. For example, if you are like 10 people in the room, okay, and if somebody says that, hey, I want to like hijack the session or whatever, like if the majority do not agrees with it, so we don't have to like worry about that thing. It depends on like how you build that protocol and what are the different like criteria or the code that you have set up in order to protect it from such manipulations. Yeah.
I have a question for you, and just your opinion on it. So with the rise of AI, right, and we got this large language models, and then we got quantum computing, which is coming into play. So we're getting AI, quantum computing, things of this nature. What's to stop an AI source or somebody prompting an AI source to create some type of illegitimate cryptocurrency, but have the protocols in place that almost make it look like it's real?
Okay, so what you're asking is if
do you think there's going to be a
is
that a concern?
Elaborate what you're asking. Yeah. So what you're asking is if we are like we're living in a world where there's AI, generative AI, we have like ChatGPT coming in. If somebody can launch or can make an attack using ChatGPT, for example, phishing or man in the middle, whatever, then how does that or how the crypto community is doing in order to prevent those things coming in? Yeah. So okay, so when you, let's say, if you want to do or start a new project, like a crypto project, you have to go through different checks, okay? One of the fundamental checks is you build that like code where the consensus has to be reached for any particular transaction or something like to occur on that platform. Okay, for example, in the like example of infrastructure where the car is going, if the car has to get the license, or if the car has to operate on that road, it has to follow certain checks. Yeah. So if that AI thing, okay, whatever, if he's launching an attack, okay, on a crypto like solution basically, okay. So we see that if it comes down to the nature of the attack, for example, okay, that what is being targeted. If the target is smart contracts, then the smart contract has built in some security features which are secure, But if those are getting exploited, so it comes down to the responsibility of the solution holder or the solution owners to foresee those things, and to take preventive and to take appropriate measures to withstand those attacks. That's how it should be. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to centralize this so there is some sort of mandate, some control, because because as you said that it's based on consensus, right? So what if like everybody is basically like they're all fools who say yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No.
Got it. So what you're saying is, what if we want to like centralize, make it make it centralized if a bunch of fools, gathered and they want to run something.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a good example here. So there is some projects in 2017 which came up, which are like ICOs where you can just, if you like the idea, you can invest on those projects and you can get 10x or 20x out of that project. But those projects don't go any far. The reason is that they don't get the same adoption, they don't have the same community, and they cannot come to the market. In order to get yourself and to have all those users with you, you have to come up with the solution which you have to set up your value proposition, for example, to get your audience. If those solutions which are running by a bunch of fools and they are not making anything, so the people will not get into it. So for example, if I want to use, for example, Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana and all those protocols are the top 3-4 protocols. They are top for the reason. they have bigger community, it's been tested, it's been, so the people are like waiting on this that, hey, they are like good, and if somebody is like a scam or people are very smart to identify those things, so that's will not go any far, and coming to your point of making it centralized to making it centralized, actually, what we have seen is in different economies in the US, India, Pakistan, centralized economies have their own issues. They can subject to some politics, or they can maybe if somebody is like launching a war, they can have their own things goes on, And I'll give you an example. If I'm using a centralized a protocol, for example, to send like money across India or to any other parts of the world, there's a middleman that comes, which is the banks, like settlement, you have to rely on SWIFT, so there are different partners which comes in, take their cut, and then the money is being sent across to, different people. So you will have like $5 piece or $10 piece, whatever you pay. If you are using, and this is due to the centralized nature, that the centralized, although they are controlling it, so they are actually sort of manipulating as well onto how much they want to get it out of that particular business, And plus it takes time, 2-3 days of the time, because they have to do settlements in different layers until the transaction reaches the end point. Whereas in this, it's like decentralized. The protocol, whatever the rules of the business is, it's already written on the code, and nobody has to take your cut, So that is why the decentralization approach is much better. However, it's not something which is completely decentralized per se. There is still a development community or like whoever have built that protocol is controlling it, So, but which protocol you have to use and to go with comes down to your own decision and to your own due diligence. Yeah. Did I make you more confused or your question?
No. It's basically, I get it, that it's an instant thing, and there's no, with centralization, there'll be a middleman.
There'll be a constant influence on whatever is being going, If you have like off days, that business is off, or 2 days, that's like that centralized, the party is sick for some reason, They are on vacation, but with this, what to expect out of this,
So I think it's a good point to talk about the history, a little bit of history of blockchain and why it was developed to your point, as an answer to the centralized nature of it, because, they were sick with monetary policy, manipulation, and things of that nature. So I forget who the founder of the blockchain technology brought this out, was like, we need to decentralize apparatus.
The history of blockchain? Oh, I would be so interested to read.
So actually what happened, there is a guy called Satoshi Nakamoto. He came up with this white paper that, hey, this is how the money should run now. Okay? And it started with, the Bitcoin, the value of the Bitcoin was like, I don't know the exact, but it's in the cents, and as soon as people had gone through his white paper, they liked it. And certainly the whole community who was subjected to like manipulation and they don't like this how their money is being controlled. I was in Saudi Arabia when the government of Lebanon, due to their bad economic situation, they said that you cannot withdraw more than $200 from your bank account, even though you have millions. What you will do then? This is your money. I'm putting on my bank account. What if that bank account goes bankrupt? Here we have FDIC, here we have a lot of things, but what about in Africa, what about in other parts of the economy? Where you don't have those centralized authorities, where you don't have those sort of cushions. Okay? So over there, actually Bitcoin helped them in order to send the remittance back in Lebanon, because they were relying on Bitcoin for their own trades, for their own all this thing, and they could not use their own currencies, because the government has put their hands on it. So this is where it can help, but as I said that, it can help, but you have to know the risk, you have to know the vulnerabilities, you have to know how it can be exploited. And actually in one of the chapters, I think it was chapter 5, where I mentioned that how as a user you can use secure wallets, you can use this technology securely as a user, what you can do, where you can download the keys, what tools you can do to do some audits on your solution. And it goes from, as I explained earlier, that you have to know your house properly, how many doors you have, where you have put your safe like gold or all these things, and then you have to take it from a risk-based approach that, hey, what is the high risk for me, where I need to put the security first, okay, and then you can take it from
I have another question. Phil Davis, Ancestry Landers again. The lights are flickering, which brings up a good point. California has been plagued with wildfires, power outages. In a power outage event, I still have cash I can go and trade or barter for. If the whole world went to a digital currency and power outages happen, does that not leave everyone broke, rich, poor, big or small?
So everybody is, so we now this hypothetical situation that
Are you saying no internet?
Well, like in California, power goes out in New York, 2003. I graduated. Power went out in the whole northeastern. Big blackout, right? Mm-hmm. With that time, if we're doing fiat now, digital currency, Bitcoin, the value of getting gas, water, supplies, candles, baby food, baby power, Similac, where does the blockchain or the digital currency help in a disaster like that plagued the whole Northeast? I think it was from Vermont all the way down to, I think, Baltimore, even though that's not technically Northeast. But at that point, DC went all the way up to Vermont, went down with no power. So in that point, how do the citizens in a digital world where our children will probably live at, what measures are in place at that point?
Yeah. So that's a very good use case, and it's come back. I think we talked about earlier in decentralization, distributed. When I was just explaining that topic, is when let's say the primary currency fails, you have to still have some way in order to rescue yourself.
Right.
And this is the very reason why this is because it's about adoption, so think about what is the reason why the value is going just rocketing, it's like 70,000 something now, like
65,000 or something like that.
67. So people have understood that, hey, this is the only way forward for us. We cannot just rely on the governments helping us. We have something of our own, and this is and like for every as you know that like for every stock to go up, it has to have some market sort of sense to it, that it is reliable, people are behind it, it has adoption, people so this is where it can help in such cases where you don't have power, where you cannot withdraw your money, maybe the banks are out of service, so you need to have a way in order to do your groceries. And as we are evolving, there are more use cases coming up where more platforms are accepting Bitcoins and other payments, other methods of payment. And you don't have to, for example, because in those cases, if let's say if I want to withdraw the money from the bank, I don't have my ID card with me, so this is I can give you example of Nigeria in some parts of Africa. They don't have ID cards. They are the farmers. They don't know how to access the bank because it's like far away from their place. So the only way for them, what has helped them, is they were aware of this Bitcoin, this cryptocurrencies, and this is how they used to do their trade and with their own own circle. So this is where it can help us. Because now what we are like kind of, a lot of, privileged, that we are having a lot of, facilities with us. But if you go far east or in Africa and, Asia even, you see people don't have, the ID cards. And this is one of the reasons how you can open a bank account. So if you think about, we have like around 8 to 9 billion people now in the world, the folk. And only 2 billion of those people are financially included in the finance ecosystem. What about the rest of 5 to 6 billion? Either they don't want to, because when they fear that if I have my money in the bank, like government is watching me, If I want to open a bank account, do basic financial activity, I need to have an ID card with me, If I need to, let's say, do some projects or send a remittance, my bank will charge me on this. So why would I have to go through all this hurdle in order to, if I have just wallet, a crypto wallet, I just have internet. Okay, I don't have any other means of accessing the bank. I can use internet to open a wallet, go to an exchange or to trade with my fellows. I can give him cash, he can send me Bitcoin or whatever. And I can do my normal, groceries or the business, That's how it can help.
But what if, again, going back, what if that farmer doesn't have internet? Because not everybody has internet, right? And what if during that blackout, there is nothing? Or I could just go one step further and say, what if Russia hacks our satellite and
that's another interesting use case. So there was in Nigeria, there was a currency called M-Pesa. What they do is they don't have the internet. They don't have access to the bank. What they did is they rely on their telecommunication service without internet to send an SMS to their friends to send the money across. That happened, I think it was in 1990 when M-Pesa came out. Okay, and now in the telecommunication world, I think Shahid knows about this. So we are building an infrastructure where when the people don't have internet, they can still send the money across to their peers. So we don't have to rely on internet. We just need to have a phone or a way to send a signal. And the phone, even when we are living in this space, there are some use cases where even you don't have the signals. You don't have the signal, you don't have the internet, you don't have anything. You still can talk to your friends on your phone. This is a use case where if you can use your phone without the internet service, without the signals, if you use Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency which don't have any a centralized authority or a centralized powerhouse to operate, or you just have to download an application, and you don't need an internet to download that application even. That's how you can do it. But that needs, because if you want to go to that path, you will see a lot of people right across the corner, which will say, I don't want you to go there. Because with this, they will lose their power. They will lose their power. Okay, and that is what this technology is supporting. It's decentralized, distributed, without any, governing authority. It's helping people actually, to progress, to enjoy basic facilities.
Phil Davis, one last time,
Yeah.
Ancestry Lands. Question. As AI becomes more adoptive into every little bit of our technologies, these developers, these small people who are, let's say, just again with the Fed now, the people who are controlling the security components, I see that eventually be handed off to AI. And this may not be the best example I saw in this sort of Rick and Morty, where he reset the dollar value of that digital currency to 0. So is that able to happen with a Bitcoin where the developers or whomever is in control of that, if they wanted to, they could reset everything back to the value of Bitcoin to 0 and effectively eliminating wealth? And that's one of the things where, gold is gold, but you're basing it off of value from a community. But the deciders, if AI decided that they were going to threaten humanity, could that be done when we're letting AI adopt and control where there's no longer human oversight or the knowledge on how to control AI at that point?
So it comes down to, that's a very good question you are asking me.
I've got tons of them, but I'll keep it short.
So basically if you think about, okay, how can we hack? If I want to understand from the hacking perspective, and what are the vulnerabilities that can be exploited? It can be exploited on the front end, which the user interface, okay, which you are building, like developers are building. But if somebody wants to hack in the code, in the Bitcoin code, there are millions of nodes or the computers who are responsible to validate or to work on one particular transaction. So it's like technically possible, but it's actually impossible to go and tamper all the transactions for that to take place. That's one. Okay, the second point, when you are building a code for a cryptocurrency, for example, this example where the AI is threatening the space, so the AI is also being developed by humans. Okay. It's actually still a technology that is being developed by us. Okay, and for that, for example, like quantum computing or things like this, if those are being used to hijack a code, okay, then it will not impact the underlying protocol of that currency. It may impact the front end, which is the low-hanging fruit, but it will not. Maybe in my understanding, it cannot impact. Otherwise, or else, if that code or the protocol is being used by only few developers, it doesn't have the same securities, like security or controls built in. Then it may impact those, but it will not impact the big tools like the Ethereum and the Bitcoin. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, so you're saying security is built in, so Bitcoin is very widely adopted.
Yeah.
Security is actually built in the distributed nature of it.
Exactly.
So many nodes.
Exactly.
The computing power it would take to try to hack each and every one of those nodes in a sequence time fashion is almost near impossible.
Yeah, and and just to add your point, that's a very good point. And just to add, if that is the case, then our own digital system, like the traditional banking system, is also at stake. They have bigger cake and a stake to eat than to come to this path. Because here you are dealing with a lot of distributed computers, they don't have they don't know what they have. But here you have targets. So instead of putting my missile here, I don't want to shoot like this. I just will target this one. I have a better chance of exploiting this rather than exploiting all of this. I don't know what they have.
Do you think AI will ever have that capability to be able to do the impossible as AI is growing?
As technology is evolving, we can expect anything. But as of now, like within 1 to 2 years down the line, I don't see this happening. The reason is we as a community is been getting more mature in terms of what risk the technology has. It's been evolving since 10 years now, and it is getting short. But as this technology is being used by the private sector, I would say then you need to read the book, do all your research in order to build your hack-proof system. That's the only thing that is I want to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense. And do you have any other questions?
I think AI is just based on the information that the people who have created or coded the AI. So whatever the information the AI doesn't have, I think it cannot research itself. It cannot make something new. So again, it would need research from the people.
Right.
So I think it will not be so easy for AI to be that stronger sooner. It might be at a stage that AI is making its own AI. Yeah, then it could be possible.
Whoa.
But I think that's true though, because I was recently talking with a local businessman who runs an IT company, and he has, I'm going to make it up, 6 coders. and he said that he let go of 3 coders because he's using AI to code. So isn't it essentially AI creating new AI? Because the time that it takes AI to code is significantly less than the time that these 3 coders were taking.
True.
So he's trying to, obviously optimize his.
It is like, for example, I read this book, okay? So now I know how to do this. Now this knowledge is with me. I can use this knowledge to code something.
Right.
As an AI, I can read like hundreds of thousands of books.
Yeah.
I can use the knowledge, all the knowledge,
Right.
to code something else or to make something out of something. But I cannot make something new, right? I'm just using the knowledge that is available.
I know.
One thing, but that's a very good point. I'll give you an example. If I want to, let's say, like just as an example, if I want to rob a bank.
Sorry.
You're all
I'm listening. Please continue. Yeah.
Have you seen the movie called Aankhein? It's a Hollywood movie. Aankhein. When three like people who are blinded went to rob a bank, and they did it. Okay. In order to do to execute anything, it's a robbery or it's a project, you have to understand that technology, that bank well. That where are the loopholes? I can only exploit what I know can be exploited. Taking example of AI is getting so smart, but it has to know the use cases. What I can exploit, For AI to exploit a fintech application, it has to know fintech. If AI has to exploit blockchain or any blockchain application, it has to know blockchain. Okay? And you can either know AI, blockchain, or cybersecurity. If you have to hack particular application, you have to know all these 3 things. You have to be good in AI, you have to know all the cybersecurity tools, techniques, and you have to know the application as well. You cannot just go and just do it, execute. You have to understand all these things, and the knowledge and the skills that is needed to execute all these things are hard to get. We don't find AI developers. How we can find like the AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, all those people who are having all those skills. So that's where it says that like AI is good, but to get to that, it needs a lot of
input.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. We need to get into to define what AI is, right? So there's 2 schools of thought. AI is broken into 2 principles, right? You got AI that we develop. We can program robots and things that help augment human or processes, right? Like an assembly line or whatever, making things. That's that one form of thought of AI, which is pretty good, very human interaction. We can control it. Then there's this other school of thought of AI, which we want to create this kind of like a sentient coded being that can think for itself, think like the human brain. We're not there yet. And we're so far from that aspect because you have to answer the fundamental questions of what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean for me to think? And you don't know that. Can you really do bee navigation? I mean, to map all out, to understand bee navigation and things like that, so many variables involved with that. And so what does that mean? So we don't even know what it means to be a human being. Of course, obviously, I think before I am here, and that's for thought, but like what the creation of a human being, what turns that light on, we don't know. So to say that we can create writing code, which is ones and zeros, thinking, in a sense, it's like, okay, what is that? So
Thank God for that. Thank God we don't know. Because and hopefully it comes after I'm dead.
Well,
just to add on, so when you talk about any startup or blockchain entrepreneur, he says, so security is always an afterthought. It's the mindset that when something will happen to us, then we'll take an action. It's always an afterthought, and it's being like this, because if you just like take an example, it's like a human psyche that you go when you take down like go to the road, when you see a police like stopping you, say, hey, why are you getting stopped? Or if somebody is saying that, hey, can you install the cameras out your home so that you can be secure, so why should I do this? If you have to stop, for example, I have to go there, and if I have been stopped in multiple places, and for my own security, but I don't like it. I need convenience, and convenience is the primary like goal for me. Like this is what our human psyche is. And similarly, the companies who are designing all those high-tech applications, they think that it's secure by design, but it's not the case. You have to do your due diligence. You cannot rely on and just outsource your security piece to any audit firm. You have to bake inside your protocol, inside your code. And how do you do this? You have to understand what are the different pillars of that house, of that technology, and whether I'm using enough risk assessment or risk treatments across all these different layers. That's how you can protect it. Okay? That's how it should be.
That's a very important point. Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.